There's a certain kind of giving that happens so slowly you don't notice it at first. It doesn't feel like sacrifice. It feels like responsibility, like care, like doing what needs to be done. You show up for people. You listen. You help. You adjust your time, your plans, your energy, often without thinking twice. And over the years, that way of living becomes natural. You become the one others rely on, the one who keeps things steady, the one who makes sure everything continues moving. It's not something you question, it's just who you are. But when you look back now, something becomes clearer. You didn't just give in big moments, you gave in small ones, every day. A little more time, a little more patience, a little more of yourself. And because it happened gradually, you didn't always see what was leaving your hands. Your time, your softness, your right to pause, to say no, to choose yourself without explaining why. Some things weren't taken from you. You handed them over, slowly, not out of weakness, out of care, out of habit, out of a belief that this is what life required of you. And for a long time, it may have felt right, even meaningful. But there comes a moment, quiet, honest, when you begin to see the full picture. How much you've given, how little you've kept. And something inside you begins to ask a different question. Not, what do others need from me? But, what do I need now? In the next part, we'll talk about the first thing you can begin to take back, something that was always yours, even when you gave it away without noticing.
If there is one thing you gave more than anything else, it was your time. Not in dramatic ways, in quiet ones. You adjusted your schedule to fit other people's needs. You said yes when it would have been easier to rest. You filled your days with what needed to be done, often leaving little space for what you wanted. And after a while, that rhythm became normal. You didn't question it. You didn't stop to ask whether your time belonged to you. It simply felt like something that was always spoken for. There may have been moments when you noticed it, a brief pause in the day, a quiet thought, I don't have time for myself. But then the moment passed because something else needed your attention, something always did. And so your time continued to move outward, given, shared, spent, until it became easy to forget that it was ever yours to begin with. But now, something has changed, not suddenly, just quietly. You may find yourself with small pockets of time that are not already claimed, a slower morning, an afternoon that doesn't demand anything urgent, a moment where nothing is waiting for you. And in those moments, a question begins to return. What would I like to do with this time? Not what needs to be done, not what someone else is expecting, just what feels right. At first, this can feel unfamiliar, even uncomfortable, because you've spent so many years using your time for others that using it for yourself may feel like something you have to justify. But you don't. Your time belongs to you now. You don't have to earn it. You don't have to explain it. You don't have to fill every hour just because you can. You are allowed to move more slowly, to leave space in your day, to let time pass without turning it into something productive. And in that space, something begins to return. A sense of ownership. A quiet feeling that your life is, once again, yours to shape.
In the next part, we'll talk about something just as important,
the softness you may have set aside along the way, and how to begin allowing it back into your life. For a long time, being strong meant something very specific. It meant holding things together, staying steady when things felt uncertain, pushing through when something was difficult. You learned how to keep going, how to manage what was in front of you without letting it overwhelm you. And that kind of strength served you. It helped you move through years that asked a lot. But somewhere along the way, something else may have quietly faded. Softness. Not the kind that makes you fragile. The kind that allows you to be gentle with yourself. To rest without feeling like you've done something wrong. To speak to yourself in a kinder way when something doesn't go as planned. There may have been a time when you didn't have space for that, when being soft would have made things harder to carry. So you became more firm, more composed, more focused on getting through what needed to be done. And over time, that became familiar. It became your way of moving through the world. But now, in a quieter season of life, something begins to shift. You may notice moments where you feel tired in a different way. Not from effort, from holding yourself too tightly, from expecting yourself to keep that same level of strength all the time. And in those moments, there is an invitation, a gentle one, to soften, to let your shoulders relax, to allow yourself to respond with care instead of pressure. You don't have to be hard to be strong. Softness is not weakness. It's rest. It's the space where your mind and your body are allowed to ease, to recover, to feel without needing to hold everything in place. This doesn't mean letting everything fall apart. It means allowing yourself to be human again, not just capable, not just dependable, but cared for. And that care can begin with you. In the next part, we'll talk about something that may feel even more unfamiliar. The quiet, simple right to say no, without needing to explain yourself. For many years, saying yes may have felt like the natural response. Yes to requests. Yes to responsibilities. Yes to things you didn't always have the energy for. Not because you wanted to overextend yourself, but because saying no didn't always feel like an option. There were expectations, roles you carried, people who depended on you. And somewhere along the way, yes became a habit, a reflex, something you offered before you even had time to consider how it would affect you. And when you did think about saying no, something else appeared. A need to explain, to justify, to soften it so it didn't feel like you were letting someone down. Because part of you believed that choosing yourself required a reason, a good one, a clear one, something that would make your no easier for someone else to accept. But now, something is beginning to change. You are starting to see that your time, your energy, your peace have limits. And protecting those limits is not something you need to apologize for. There may be a moment when someone asks something of you, and instead of answering automatically, you pause. You check in with yourself. And for the first time in a long while, you notice that the answer is no. Not out of frustration, not out of rejection, just out of honesty. And instead of explaining it fully, you simply say it, gently, calmly, without adding more. No is a complete sentence. You don't owe an explanation for protecting your peace. This may feel unfamiliar at first, even uncomfortable,
because you've spent so many years making sure others were okay before yourself. But this is not about becoming distant. It's about becoming balanced. You can still care, still show up, still be present in the lives of others, but not at the cost of yourself. And each time you allow yourself to say no when it's needed, something inside you becomes a little steadier, a little clearer.
In the next part, we'll talk about why this shift can feel strange at first, and why learning to live this way takes time, even when you know it's right. Even when something is right for you, it doesn't always feel natural right away, especially when you spent years living a different way. There may be moments now when you choose your time more carefully, when you soften your expectations of yourself, when you say no without explaining. And afterward, something small appears. A question, a quiet discomfort. Was that okay? Should I have done more? This doesn't mean you made the wrong choice. It means you're stepping out of a pattern that has been with you for a long time. Giving was familiar. Overextending yourself was familiar. Putting others first without thinking twice was familiar. And now, you're learning something new. How to include yourself in the way you live. That takes time. There may be moments when you feel a pull to go back to old habits, to say yes just to keep things smooth, to explain yourself so others feel more comfortable, to give a little more even when you're already tired. And when that happens, it's not a failure. It's part of the transition. You're learning a life you were never taught, a life where your needs are not placed at the end of the list, a life where your time, your energy, your softness are allowed to stay with you. What's unfamiliar is not always wrong. It's often just new. And with each small choice, each moment where you pause, each time you listen to yourself, you begin to build something steadier. A way of living that includes you, not just everyone else. In the next part, we'll talk about what begins to change when you start giving back to yourself, and how that quiet shift affects everything around you.
The changes don't arrive all at once. They appear quietly, in small ways that are easy to miss at first. You may notice that your days feel a little lighter, not because everything is easier, but because you're no longer carrying what isn't yours to hold. There is more space in your time, more space in your mind, more space in your energy. And in that space, something begins to settle. You feel less rushed, less pulled in different directions, less responsible for everything around you. You begin to move at a pace that feels closer to your own, not the pace that was once expected of you, but one that fits where you are now. There is also a quiet shift in how you feel toward others. When you're not overextended, you don't feel as drained. You don't feel that quiet edge of resentment that sometimes comes from giving too much for too long. You can be present without feeling depleted. You can listen without carrying everything away with you. You can care without losing yourself in the process. What you give yourself returns to everything around you. It shows up in your tone, in your patience, in your ability to stay grounded instead of stretched thin. You become easier to live with, especially for yourself. And that changes more than you might expect. Because when you are more at ease within yourself, everything you touch feels a little different, a little calmer, a little clearer, a little more balanced. In the final part, we'll bring this reflection to a gentle close,
and talk about what it means to finally allow yourself to receive after so many years of giving.
For most of your life, giving came first. You offered your time, your attention, your care, often without hesitation, often without asking what you needed in return. And for a long time, that may have felt right, meaningful even. But there comes a point when the balance begins to shift, not because you've changed in a negative way, because you've lived long enough to understand something important. You are part of your own life too, not just someone who supports it for others, someone who deserves to be included in it. You're allowed to receive now, not in a dramatic way, not in a way that takes from others, but in a quiet, steady way that brings you back into your own life. Receiving your own time, receiving your own kindness, receiving the space to move at your own pace. This is not selfish. It's a return, a gentle correction after years of leaning outward. You don't have to give everything away anymore. You don't have to explain why you need space. You don't have to prove that you deserve rest. You already do. You always did. And when you begin to live this way, something settles. A quiet sense of balance. A feeling that your life is no longer something you're holding up for everyone else. It's something you are finally allowed to live. You are not taking too much. You are finally keeping what was always yours. If this letter met you at the right moment, you're welcome here. And if you'd like, tell me in the comments, what is one thing you're ready to give back to yourself now? Take what helps, leave the rest.